Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and right here on the show, I break down all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network. For the next few weeks, we're talking about every installment in Armageddon pay-per-view history, and today we're reviewing Armageddon 2004. So kicking off the show for the WWE Tag Team titles, Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio defending against the former set of champions, Rene Dupree and Kenzo Suzuki, who were surprisingly together for a pretty long time in the latter half of 2004 for whatever reason. I have no idea why. They weren't a very good team. They tried to find some chemistry, but for whatever reason, I don't know, it just kind of felt like a Ryback team to me, where they kind of seemed like they were having fun together, but ultimately they didn't gel in the end. But still, 3 days prior on SmackDown, RVD and Mysterio beat Rene Dupree and Suzuki to win back the WWE Tag Team titles. They lost to them back in No Mercy. So why they didn't just wait until the pay-per-view, I have no idea. They did the rematch on this show, which was actually a pretty good match. You had to know that RVD and Mysterio weren't going to lose the belts right back to them 3 days after winning it. But still, it's a really good match. They got great time. It was perfectly slotted in the opening matchup, in the opener of the night. I don't know if fans would have cared as much about it if it took place a little bit later on, especially after some of the duds of the mid-card matches that we would get on this show. But it was very well wrestled. RVD and Mysterio were a great tag team. Dupree and Suzuki, to their credit as well, were very good athletes, put up a great fight. I don't know how long they lasted after this, how longer they lasted in the company, or on SmackDown anyway. Dupree might have been gone by 2005. Suzuki did not last much longer at all. I'm pretty sure this was their last shot at the WWE Tag Team title. It's still really, really good match, and probably one of, if not the best match of the entire show, and you'll soon find out why. After that, we had a Kurt Angle Invitational for one of his Olympic gold medals, taking on Santa Claus, who he forced to tap out in less than 30 seconds. So that was that. A nice little, comedy Christmas filler, I guess. After that, a Dixie dogfight between the two Tough Enough finalists in the $1 Million Tough Enough between Daniel Puder and Mike Mizanin, a.k.a. The Miz, who took on Daniel Puder here. Considering that Puder was an MMA fighter and had an MMA background, The Miz fared pretty well for himself here. Got a couple of good shots in. Ultimately, he was destroyed. Puder got the better of him throughout all the 4 to 5 rounds, whatever the hell it was. 3 rounds, 4 rounds. I think it was 3 rounds. But, 3 rounds. It says 3 minutes here, and it was a minute in each round. But it wasn't really as bad as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was a complete shoot. And I think even Taz mentioned it, as we had something very similar many years earlier in the Brawl for All, which was fucking awful. Got so many people hurt. But, this was what it was. Puder won. It was not who decided who won Tough Enough. That would be decided later on in the night on WWE.com. Fans would have up until either the end of the night or on Thursday. I forgot which one it was on SmackDown to determine who was the winner of Tough Enough. Puder would win it anyway, but The Miz went on to become WWE Champion. So who really won in the end is the question I posed to you guys. After that, just a random-ass tag team match that served no real purpose. The Basham Brothers taking on Hardcore Holly or Charlie Haas. A pretty throwaway tag team match. Basham Brothers won after Charlie Haas was distracted at ringside with Jackie and Miss Jackie and Dawn Marie leading up to that match later on in the night, which I'll get to momentarily. Hardcore Holly was distracted as well by that going on at ringside, was rolled up. Basham Brothers win. Whatever. After that, a street fight for the United States Championship. John Cena defending against Jesus with Carlito in his corner. So basically what happened was that Carlito beat Cena to win the United States Championship in his debut match on SmackDown, only to lose it right back to him, I think around November, or I don't know how long his reign lasted, but I think Carlito got injured, so they had to have him drop the championship right back to Cena, which was pretty disappointing. So in the meantime, they had Cena feud with Carlito's bodyguard Jesus, who allegedly stabbed Cena in a nightclub with a knife or something like that, almost killed the guy. I'm not exactly sure what went down there, but it was a pretty goofy storyline leading to this street fight on this show. Cena, it was a pretty one-sided affair. Cena pretty much dominated Jesus, scoring the victory to retain his title. Went no more than 8 minutes. So that was that. So kind of not a disappointing match, but no one really gave a shit. It kind of cut the momentum. Carlito fairly short when he had to drop the championship, but shit happens. People get injured, so that's what happens, unfortunately. But after that, we had Dawn Marie versus Miss Jackie with Charlie Haas as the special guest referee. So the whole storyline going into this was that Miss Jackie was engaged to Charlie Haas in storyline. I think they were, I don't know if they were engaged by that point in real life, but I know they went on to get married in reality. And Dawn Marie was having an affair, or Charlie Haas was having an affair with Dawn Marie. So the match went all of a minute. When Charlie Haas helped Dawn Marie score. I don't know if he saw it or not, but she cheated to win. She held the tights, and the match was over in a minute. Thank God, because it was not good. The post-match stuff was actually more entertaining than the match itself. So Charlie Haas says, "Is it true that I was having an affair with Dawn Marie while I was engaged to you, Miss Jackie?" Yes, it was, and the engagement is off. So the biggest heel in the building and then he gets down to one knee, getting ready, presumably to propose to Dawn Marie, only to call her a massive slut. Why would I ever marry you? I'm through with both of you. See ya, bye. And he takes off, and that was that. So that was a nice little swerve for whatever that was worth. I don't know where it went from there, where the storyline went from there, but lo and behold, Miss Chiaki and Charlie Haas would get married in real life. I think soon after, or if they weren't married already by that point. After that, we had a 3-on-1 handicap match. Kurt Angle, Luther Reigns, and Mark Jindrick taking on the Big Show. I mean, the whole story was that Big Show is trying to overcome the odds here, but did anyone really see Jindrick and Reigns as a, not Roman Reigns, but rather Luther Reigns, as a true threat to Big Show? I don't think so. I mean, honestly, like any one of those guys would have been squashed by Big Show one-on-one, with the exception of Kurt Angle, obviously. But the match, it just was kind of hard to get into it because you knew Big Show was probably going to win. The only thing worth noting about this match, other than really nothing, was the finish. With Big Show winning via an F5, which was interesting. The commentators were taken aback by it. Were like, he won. They were saying, he won with an F5? That's a bit surprising. So it wasn't like he was teasing a return of Brock Lesnar, who left the company earlier on in the year after WrestleMania 20, obviously, after the infamous match with Goldberg at that event. Lesnar was gone up until 2012, so maybe they thought he was coming back. I don't know, but it was a bit of a weird finish to finish off the match, but it was something different, I guess. It's not like Big Show would start using that as a finisher. Maybe he did for a few weeks, but I know obviously it was not for the long term. After that, for the Cruiserweight Championship, Funaki beating Spike Dudley to win the gold. And a good match, but the crowd just could not care less about at this point of the show. They just wanted the show to be over. But a cool win for Funaki. I think his first championship win in 8 years, or first Cruiserweight Championship victory in 8 years. I forgot exactly what it was. But a good match and a good win for him. I mean, like I said, the crowd is kind of dead for it, but can you really blame him when it takes place in the death slot right before the main event? So anyway, good match, good moment, although the crowd didn't really care for it too much. And then we get to the main event, a fatal 4-way match for the WWE Championship. Had the cabinet interfered, JBL would have lost the championship. It was JBL defending the gold against Eddie Guerrero, The Undertaker, and Booker T. The whole story going into this was that JBL defended the gold against Eddie Guerrero one-on-one. He actually beat him for the belt, but he beat him one-on-one. He beat The Undertaker. He beat Booker T. All one-on-one situations. Via cheating, though. He cheated to retain his title on every occasion when he went one-on-one with all these men, leading to, thus, a fatal 4-way match involving JBL, Eddie Guerrero, Booker T, and The Undertaker, where, like I said, if the cabinet got involved, he would have lost the championship regardless. So the first portion of the match was pretty boring, like, I hit a move, this person makes the save, that guy hits a move, that person makes the save, kind of formulaic early on, but in the second half, if not down the stretch, it was pretty entertaining, kind of an entertaining few near falls. Eddie Guerrero hitting back-to-back frog splashes on The Undertaker kicking out, so they were really trying to protect The Undertaker in 2004, if you couldn't already tell with the whole dead man gimmick. They went really over the top. I don't know if that was exactly how he was like in 1990 and like the 90s and shit with Undertaker, and he was kicking out of finishers, 2 finishers in a row. I'm not exactly sure what was going on with Undertaker. He still does that now, but to a lesser extent. But anyway, so Eddie Guerrero had a really good showing here. Booker T kind of looked out of place a little bit. There was really no incentive to see Booker T win the championship. He was a fan favorite, but no one thought he had any real chance of winning the gold here. But JBL had a great performance, almost kissing that championship goodbye in a pre-match segment backstage with the cabinet, which was pretty good. That was pretty funny. But in the end, The Undertaker was closing in on the championship. He chokeslammed everybody, tombstone JBL, but before he could tombstone JBL, out came Heidenreich, who cost him the championship at No Mercy against JBL a few months earlier. They went one-on-one at Survivor Series. Undertaker won. The whole feud sucked. I don't know why they opted to continue it, maybe just to screw Undertaker out of the championship again, but they would have one more match, a casket match at the Royal Rumble the following month. So again, a feud that lasted 3 to 4 months, and you got 2 matches out of it. No one cared. Heidenreich was not a threat whatsoever. The guy sucked. So that cost Undertaker the championship. He would continue to brawl with Heidenreich during the match. That would cost him the belt. In the meantime, JBL would clothesline from hell Booker T, score the victory to retain his title. So that was the fatal 4-way match for the WWE Championship. JBL walking out, still the WWE Champion. But overall, kind of a lackluster show. Not the best Armageddon I've seen up to this point. I thought 03 was slightly better. There really wasn't anything to the show at all. I mean, I thought the opener was really good. The Invitational was total throwaway. It was over in 30 seconds. Pewter and Miz was interesting for a shoot fight, but it was nothing really all that entertaining, I guess. The Bajam Brothers versus Hardcore Holly and Charlie Haas, total throwaway. Cena and Jesus, complete squash. Marie and Jackie, over in a minute. The post-match stuff was interesting, or funny anyway, but the match wasn't. Handicap match was solid, but kind of uneventful. Cruiserweight title match was good, but crowd didn't care, and the main event was entertaining at points, or at least the second half of the main event, but overall, it does not make this pay-per-view worth watching, so I would not recommend watching Armageddon 2004 on the WWE Network unless you're a huge fan of the SmackDown brand back at that period in time, or JBL's title reign, or whatever. Otherwise, this is not a must-see pay-per-view by any means. So that is my review, guys, of Armageddon 2004. So as always, thank you for watching and listening. I greatly appreciate it. My next video will, of course, be covering Armageddon 2005. But in the meantime, and in between time, you guys can follow me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant, on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews, and right here on YouTube at liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. So until next time, guys, I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.